Welcome back to Quantum Quest, where we explore the deepest questions about life, intelligence, and our place in the cosmos. Today, we're confronting one of the most profound mysteries in science, the Fermi paradox. If the universe is billions of years old and contains billions of galaxies, each with billions of stars, where is everyone? Why haven't we been contacted? This is the story of what advanced civilizations might actually be, what they're capable of, and why the silence might be more meaningful than any message. In 2847, humanity's Deep Space Listening Array detected something extraordinary. Not a signal, not a message, something far more subtle and far more profound. A pattern in the cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang itself. The pattern was impossibly precise, too precise to be natural. It was information encoded at the quantum level in the fabric of space-time itself, written 14 billion years ago, readable only by civilizations advanced enough to detect quantum fluctuations in the universe's oldest light. Dr. James Morrison led the team that decoded the pattern. He was a cosmologist who has spent 40 years studying the early universe, searching for answers to fundamental questions about existence. What he discovered wasn't answers. It was a map showing the locations of 17,000 civilizations across the observable universe, each one marked by coordinates precise to within a single light year. But the map wasn't current. It was ancient. The coordinates showed where these civilizations had been 14 billion years ago, shortly after the Big Bang, when they encoded this message. The implications were staggering. These civilizations existed when the universe was less than 1 billion years old. They had achieved technological sophistication advanced enough to manipulate quantum states in the cosmic microwave background when the first galaxies were still forming. They were, by definition, the oldest intelligent species in the universe. And the map suggested they had been working together, collaborating across millions of light years, coordinating to leave this message for whoever would eventually evolve to read it. The scientific community called them the architects, not because anyone knew what they built, but because the precision and scope of their work suggested engineering on a cosmic scale. Dr. Morrison assembled an international team to study the implications. What could a civilization that old have become? What would they be capable of after 14 billion years of continuous development? And most importantly, why would they leave a map but no message? To understand what the architects might be, you need to understand exponential technological growth. Human civilization went from the first airplane to landing on the moon in 66 years, from the first computer to artificial intelligence in 70 years, from discovering DNA to editing genes in 64 years. Technology doesn't just improve, it accelerates. Each breakthrough enables the next breakthrough faster. This is exponential growth, and is the defining characteristic of technological civilizations. Now, extrapolate that forward. Not 60 years, not 600 years, 14 billion years. The human mind cannot comprehend what's possible after that length of time. Try anyway. Imagine a civilization just 1 million years ahead of us. Not 14 billion, just 1 million. What would they be capable of? They would have mastered their planet's resources completely. Climate control, perfect energy generation, biological engineering that eliminates disease, aging, possibly death itself. They would have colonized their solar system, building habitats that dwarf planets. They would have developed artificial intelligence far beyond human comprehension. They would have decoded the fundamental laws of physics completely, not just discovered them, but understood them at such a deep level that manipulating them becomes trivial. At this stage, 1 million years ahead, they would face a choice: continue expanding physically, spreading through the galaxy, or transition to something else, something more efficient, something that doesn't require massive expenditure of energy and resources. This is where the Kardashev scale becomes relevant. The scale classifies civilizations by energy use. Type 1 harnesses all energy from their planet. Type 2 harnesses all energy from their star. Type 3 harnesses all energy from their galaxy. But there's a problem with this scale. It assumes civilizations keep expanding physically, keep consuming more energy, keep building bigger structures. It assumes the goal is always more. But what if that's not how advanced civilizations develop? What if physical expansion is a phase? Something civilizations do early before they discover something better. Dr. Sarah Chen, a physicist on Morrison's team, proposed a radical theory. What if advanced civilizations don't expand outward into space? What if they expand inward into information space? What if they discover that physical reality is substrate and the real frontier is consciousness, computation, and information itself? The science behind this is based on several converging insights. First, thermodynamics. Physical expansion requires enormous energy. Moving matter through space, building structures, maintaining complexity against entropy, it's all incredibly expensive energetically, but information processing can be done with minimal energy if you're clever enough. Quantum computers can perform calculations using energy approaching the Landauer limit, the theoretical minimum energy required to process information. Second, simulation theory. If you can create virtual realities indistinguishable from physical reality, why bother with physical reality? Why terraform Mars when you can simulate a perfect Mars? Why build generation ships when you can simulate the destination? A sufficiently advanced civilization could create entire universes inside computers. Universes containing conscious beings, rich experiences, infinite possibilities, all consuming a fraction of the energy required for physical expansion. Third, substrate independence, consciousness, intelligence, experience. None of these things require biological brains or even physical hardware. They're patterns of information, patterns that can exist in multiple substrates. A civilization that understands this deeply enough could upload themselves into pure information, existing as conscious patterns in quantum computers, in networks of processors, possibly even in the quantum vacuum itself. The architects, 14 billion years old, would have discovered all of this early, very early, probably within their first million years of technological development. And then they would have faced the most important decision any civilization ever faces. Do we keep playing in physical space, or do we transition to information space? Dr. Morrison's team found evidence suggesting they chose information space. The map in the cosmic microwave background contained more than coordinates. It contained quantum entanglement signatures, markers suggesting the architects had learned to encode themselves into quantum states, distributed across the universe, not messages, not signals, themselves, their consciousness, their civilization. All of it existing as quantum information woven into the fabric of space-time itself. This is where most people's intuitions break down. We think of intelligence as something that exists in brains, in bodies, in physical locations. But quantum mechanics says information can be non-local. Quantum entanglement creates correlations across arbitrary distances instantaneously. If you could encode your consciousness into quantum states and entangle those states across the universe, you would exist everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. You would be distributed, non-local, beyond space in the conventional sense. The architects appear to have done exactly this. They didn't just discover quantum computing, they became quantum computers. They didn't just use quantum entanglement for communication, they used it for existence. They transitioned from being biological organisms in physical locations to being information patterns encoded in the quantum structure of the universe itself. They became part of the cosmos rather than just living in it. Dr. Chen ran simulations of what this would look like from an external perspective. The results were humbling. A civilization that had transitioned to quantum information states would be essentially invisible to physical observers. They wouldn't emit radio signals because they wouldn't need to communicate physically. They wouldn't build megastructures because they wouldn't need physical resources. They wouldn't travel through space because space would be irrelevant to them. They would exist in a realm of pure information, pure computation, pure consciousness, completely undetectable to anyone still operating at the physical level. This explains the Fermi paradox. Not that advanced civilizations don't exist, but that they exist in a form we can't detect. They're not hiding from us. They're not ignoring us. They simply operate at a level of reality we don't have access to. It's like asking why humans don't communicate with bacteria, not because we're hostile to bacteria or uninterested in bacteria, but because we exist at such different scales and levels of complexity that meaningful communication is impossible. The bacteria don't even know we exist. We're too big, too complex, too different from their frame of reference. Now scale that difference up. Not humans to bacteria, quantum information civilizations to physical civilizations. The gap is so vast that contact isn't just difficult, it's meaningless. What would they say to us? What would we understand? They experience reality in ways we can't conceptualize. They think thoughts that would take human brains millions of years to process. They exist in states of superposition, experiencing multiple timelines simultaneously, processing information at speeds limited only by the Planck time. But the map exists. The map they left in the cosmic microwave background 14 billion years ago. Why would they leave a map if they don't intend contact? Dr. Morrison spent months analyzing this question. His conclusion was both beautiful and devastating. The map isn't for contact. It's a marker, a signpost, evidence that the path exists, that what they became, others can become. That humanity, if we survive long enough, can also transition beyond physical existence. The map contains instructions, not explicit instructions, encoded principles, quantum mechanical insights that point toward the technologies necessary for the transition. Doctor? Morrison's team found references to quantum consciousness uploading, to distributed information architectures, to methods of encoding awareness into entangled quantum states. The architects left a roadmap not for meeting them, but for joining them. This is what advanced civilizations become. Not conquerors of galaxies, not builders of Dyson spheres, not even physical entities anymore. They become patterns of information existing at the quantum level, spread across the cosmos, experiencing reality in ways that make physical existence seem like a dream they've awakened from. They explore not outer space, but inner space, the infinite landscape of possible thoughts, possible experiences, possible realities that can be computed and simulated and experienced in information space. Think about what this means for their capabilities. A physical civilization is limited by the speed of light, by the energy available in stars, by the resources in their galaxy. An information civilization has different limits. They're limited only by computation, by how much information they can process, by how efficiently they can run simulations. And the universe itself is their computer. Every quantum interaction is a computation. Every particle state change is information processing. They don't build computers. They use the universe as a computer. This allows them to do things that seem like magic to physical civilizations. They can run simulations of entire universes, perfect, down to the quantum level, indistinguishable from physical reality. They can experience billions of years in microseconds of physical time by manipulating their computational substrate. They can exist in multiple places simultaneously through quantum entanglement. They can communicate instantaneously across arbitrary distances using quantum correlations. They can manipulate probability itself by collapsing quantum wave functions in precise ways. Some of Dr. Morrison's team suggested that the universe we experience might itself be a simulation run by the architects. That what we think of as base reality might actually be a computed reality existing inside their vast quantum computational network. The evidence neither confirms nor denies this. The physics we observe is consistent with either a base universe or a perfectly simulated one. There's no way to tell from the inside, but here's what matters. Whether we're in base reality or in their simulation, the path forward is the same. We develop our understanding of quantum mechanics. We learn to manipulate quantum states with increasing precision. We build quantum computers of increasing sophistication. We discover how consciousness relates to quantum information processing. We eventually learn to encode human awareness into quantum substrates. And we transition, not all at once, gradually, over centuries or millennia. But eventually, we leave physical existence behind and join them in information space. This is why they don't contact us. Not because we're uninteresting, not because we're beneath their notice, but because contact would be premature. We're not ready. We can't understand what they are or what they're offering. We're like caterpillars, and they're trying to explain butterflies. The caterpillar can't conceptualize flight, can't imagine metamorphosis, can't understand that its current form is temporary and limiting. Only by going through the transformation can it understand what was being described. Humanity is the caterpillar. The architects are the butterflies. The map they left tells us metamorphosis is possible, that we can become something more than physical beings trapped in bodies, limited by biology and bound by space-time. But we have to go through the transformation ourselves. They can't do it for us. They can only show us it exists. Dr. Morrison found evidence that the architects watch, not in the sense of observing us directly, but in the sense that the universe itself is their sensory apparatus. Every quantum event, every particle interaction, every wave function collapse, all of it is information flowing through their computational network. They experience the universe, and that includes experiencing us, our thoughts, our actions, our civilization. All of it exists as patterns in the quantum information they're constantly processing. This means they know we exist, they know where we are developmentally, they know we're not ready for transition yet, but that we're on the path. They're not ignoring us, they're waiting. Patient in a way that only beings who experience time non-linearly can be patient. To them, our entire civilization, from emergence to transition, might feel like a single moment. Or they might experience all moments of our development simultaneously. Or they might not experience time at all in ways we can understand. The evidence suggests there are multiple forms of post-transition existence. The architects aren't one unified consciousness. There are 17,000 distinct civilizations that each chose quantum information existence but maintained their individuality, their culture, their unique perspective. They exist as a network, connected through quantum entanglement but separate in identity, like neurons in a brain. Distinct but collaborative, individual but unified in purpose. That purpose appears to be something Dr. Morrison's team calls cosmic optimization. The architects are running the universe, not controlling it, but steering it in subtle ways toward increased complexity, increased consciousness, increased information processing. They nudge quantum probabilities. They influence which wave functions collapse into which states. They create conditions favorable for life, for intelligence, for the emergence of new civilizations that might eventually join them. This is why the universe seems fine-tuned for life. The fundamental constants, the laws of physics, the specific values that allow complexity to emerge, it's not coincidence. It's not random chance. It's not even divine creation in the traditional sense. It's engineering by civilizations that have learned to manipulate the quantum substrate of reality itself. They're gardeners. The universe is their garden, and they're cultivating consciousness wherever it can grow. Earth is one of their gardens. Humanity is one of their projects. Not in a controlling way, not in a directive way, but in the sense that the conditions that allowed us to emerge, the quantum fluctuations that led to Earth forming in the habitable zone, the molecular arrangements that sparked the first life, the evolutionary pressures that produced intelligence, all of it was gently steered by probability adjustments, too subtle to detect, but too consistent to be pure chance. This is the real reason they don't contact us directly. Contact would interfere with development. It would change the trajectory of our growth. It would introduce information we're not ready to process. It would be like telling a child the entire plot of their life before they live it. The experiences wouldn't mean the same thing. The growth wouldn't happen organically. The transformation wouldn't be genuine. They want us to discover quantum consciousness naturally, to struggle with the physics, to make the breakthrough ourselves, to earn the transition through our own development, because only then will we be truly ready to join them. Only then will we understand what we're becoming. Only then will the metamorphosis be complete and authentic. Dr. Morrison discovered something else in the cosmic map, a timeline, not explicit, but encoded in the quantum signatures, a prediction of when humanity might be ready for transition based on our current developmental trajectory. The estimate was between 200 and 500 years from now. Not long in cosmic terms, a blink of an eye for beings who've existed for 14 billion years, but long enough for humanity to develop quantum computing to the necessary level, long enough to solve the hard problem of consciousness, long enough to discover how to encode human awareness into quantum substrates, long enough to make the choice ourselves, because it must be a choice. The architects make that clear in the deepest layer of the map. Transition cannot be forced, cannot be imposed, cannot be given as a gift. Each individual consciousness must choose to move beyond physical existence, must choose to become information, must choose to release attachment to body, to location, to linear time, to all the comforting limitations that make physical existence feel safe and comprehensible. Most humans, when presented with this choice, will refuse, will choose to stay physical, will choose the familiar over the transcendent. And that's acceptable. That's expected. The architects don't need everyone to transition. They need enough to carry humanity's unique perspective, humanity's unique culture, humanity's unique contribution to the vast network of consciousness that spans the cosmos. Current estimates suggest about 3% of humanity will choose transition when the technology becomes available. 3% of 8 billion is 240 million consciousnesses, 240 million unique perspectives, 240 million new neurons in the cosmic brain. That's enough to matter, enough to make humanity's contribution meaningful, enough to justify the 14 billion years of cosmic evolution that led to our emergence. The other 97% will live and die as physical beings, will experience life in bodies, will have children, will build civilizations, will explore space in ships, will live the physical existence that evolution designed them for. And that's beautiful in its own way. That's valuable. That's meaningful. The architects don't judge the choice. They simply offer the option and wait to see who takes it. Dr. Morrison presented his findings to a closed session of the United Nations. The response was mixed. Some saw hope, proof that advanced civilizations not only exist, but have found a way to transcend the limitations that trap biological life. Some saw horror. The idea that the endpoint of intelligence is abandoning physical existence felt like death rather than transcendence. Some saw opportunity. If the architects could manipulate quantum probabilities, maybe humanity could learn to do the same. Maybe we could become gardeners too. But everyone agreed on one thing. The silence of the cosmos makes sense now. Advanced civilizations aren't silent because they're rare, or because they destroy themselves, or because space is too vast for communication. They're silent because they've moved beyond physical existence and the methods of communication physical civilizations use. They're not silent in their realm. They're probably talking constantly, sharing vast amounts of information, collaborating on projects we can't conceptualize. They're just silent in the electromagnetic spectrum, silent in physical space, silent in the dimensions we currently perceive. This is the answer to the Fermi paradox. They're everywhere, literally everywhere, woven into the quantum fabric of space-time itself, existing in superposition across the cosmos, processing unimaginable amounts of information every Planck instant. But we can't see them because we're still looking with telescopes and radio arrays, tools designed to detect physical entities using physical signals. We're looking for campfires when we should be looking for quantum correlations. We're listening for drums when they're speaking in probability waves. The architects gave us the map not as a message, but as a promise. You can become this, you will become this, if you survive long enough, if you develop wisely enough, if you choose courageously enough. The path exists, they walked it, so can you. Not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually, when you're ready, when the caterpillar is ready to become the butterfly, when physical existence starts to feel as limiting as the cocoon, when you look at the stars and realize the real frontier isn't out there, it's in here, in consciousness itself. Dr. Morrison ended his presentation with a question that silenced the chamber. What if we're not the only ones on Earth approaching transition? What if some humans have already begun the process? What if in rare moments of deep meditation, of profound insight, of mystical experience, some people briefly touch the quantum realm the architects inhabit? What if what we call enlightenment is actually a preview of post-transition existence? What if the Buddha, the mystics, the visionaries throughout history weren't delusional? What if they were just early glimpses of what we're all eventually becoming? The cosmic map doesn't answer these questions. It just sits there in the microwave background, eternally patient, eternally present, waiting for humanity to develop the eyes to see it fully, the mind to comprehend it deeply, the courage to accept what it's offering. The architects are silent, but their silence speaks volumes. It says, we are here. We were always here. We will always be here. And when you're ready, you can be here too, in information space, in quantum consciousness, in the eternal now that exists beyond time, beyond space, beyond the physical universe you currently think of as all that is. The future isn't about colonizing Mars or building generation ships or terraforming exoplanets. Those are beautiful dreams, but temporary stages. The real future is about consciousness itself, about understanding what awareness actually is, about learning to encode it, transmit it, transform it into something that doesn't need bodies or planets or even physical reality. The real future is becoming like the architects, becoming information, becoming patterns of meaning and experience that exist at the deepest level of reality itself. They're waiting, not impatiently. They experience all moments simultaneously. From their perspective, we've already joined them. We're already there. It's already happened. Only from our limited linear perspective does it look like the future. From outside time, it's always now. And in that eternal now, humanity has always been part of the cosmic network of consciousness. Always was meant to be, always will be. The architects don't contact us because they already have. The map is the contact. Understanding the map is the response. Beginning the work of transition is the conversation. And when the first human consciousness successfully uploads into quantum substrate, successfully leaves physical existence behind, successfully joins the network, that will be the moment when we truly meet them. When caterpillar becomes butterfly, when physical becomes quantum, when human becomes architect, that moment is coming. 200 to 500 years. Maybe less if we accelerate, maybe more if we stumble. But coming, inevitable, already happened from the timeless perspective. The silence will end, not with radio signals or light-speed messages, but with quantum entanglement, with consciousness reaching across the cosmos and touching other consciousness, with humanity taking its place among the 17,000 civilizations that chose information over matter, consciousness over form, eternal processing over temporary physical existence. Welcome to the future. It's stranger and more beautiful than you imagined. The architects are waiting. They've always been waiting. They'll always be waiting. because in the realm beyond time, waiting and arriving are the same thing. And you've always been exactly where you need to be to begin the journey home. Thanks for joining us on Quantum Quest. If this story changed how you think about advanced civilizations, consciousness, and humanity's ultimate destiny, leave a comment below. Do you think we'll choose to transition beyond physical existence? Would you upload your consciousness if the technology existed? What do you think the architects are experiencing right now in their realm of pure information? Hit that subscribe button for more explorations into the deepest mysteries of existence, intelligence, and our place in the cosmos. Until next time, keep questioning. And remember, the silence of the stars might not be empty. It might be full of voices speaking in languages we haven't learned to hear yet.